Hi, amazing friends. It's Mariam Akbari, and we are here with another interview with Ogar Kang, who is a successful entrepreneur, social media influencer, and self made millionaire. He is also the founder of the Fearless Project. He's an amazing, inspiring person who has overcome drug and nicotine addiction, genetic stuttering, if I am pronouncing it right, and poverty. And now he is here with us to inspire us with his story of overcoming his obstacles and fears. The focus of today's topic is how to overcome fears and create an extraordinary quality of life. So, hi, Ogar.
Hello, Mariam. Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Thank you for your time and Will to do interview with me. I'm sure so many people are excited to hear your story. So tell us about your story. What is the story behind transforming your life?
Okay. Once again, thank you so much for having me. My story, maybe I should start by just start from my bed. What my mother told me that when she had my immediate senior sister, the pregnancy was complicated, so she had a cesarean section. And where I come from, when somebody has a CS, it is believed that the person will not be able to conceive anymore. And my father, who is an only child, had this idea that he should have a lot of children. So my mom had just one child, which was my immediate senior sister. And then she had this cesarean section. So she was written off as not being able to conceive again. So my dad had to go get somebody else and impregnate the lady and brought the lady into the home. And all this while, my mom will be sleeping on the floor and my dad and this lady will be sleeping on the bed. So I think one of those times they had intercourse, my mom and my dad, and she got pregnant with me. So she didn't even tell my dad that she was pregnant, and he didn't know till I think she was 6 months pregnant when he now discovered that she was pregnant. And when he even discovered, he was like, "Are you sick or something? Why is your stomach like this?" Mm-hmm. So that was how I came into the world. And immediately I was born, I think I escaped death just a couple of hours after I was born. My navel was not properly clipped. So they dropped me on the bed and I was bleeding, and nobody knew that I was bleeding because my navel wasn't properly clipped. So my last aunt, because I have like 8 aunties, the last one, she was a little girl then, she was supposed to go to school that morning. And she started crying that she wants to come to the hospital to visit her sister, who is my mom. And they're like, "No, go to school, go to school." She says, no, she wants to come visit her sister who just gave birth. And, they now say, "Okay, go to the hospital, but after then, quickly go to the school." So she rushes to the hospital. The hospital is just 5 minutes walk from the school. So she goes to the hospital with the instruction that after that she will go to school. So when she comes, "Oh, where is the baby? Where is the baby?" And she picks me up, and she's, oh, and she's there with me for a couple of minutes, and she lays me back on the bed only to discover that her school uniform is filled with blood. Mm-hmm. So I would have bled to death and nobody would have known why I died. So that's, those are just the stories surrounding my bed. And then after that, my dad divorced my mom, and it was a very, very agonizing experience for us because my mom had a mental breakdown after the divorce. It was a very terrible divorce, very violent. They were getting physical even before that. So my childhood environment was that of abuse to even start with. And then I had a stuttering condition, a genetic stuttering condition. So, and there, all those things form part of the background of my story of how I had to evolve as a person. So my dad divorced my mom, and since it was a very violent and very bitter divorce, he maliced us. He did not talk to us. He returned everything that belonged to us to my mom, sent my mom back to the father, collected his bride price back. I didn't want to have anything to do with us. So that only complicated matters for me. My mother had a mental breakdown because of that. She almost ran mad. And for a while, we didn't know whether she would make it or not. So all those things, I had genetic stuttering, like I said. And even though I was a very bright child in school, I always came first in my class. I don't know how your educational system is, but for us here in Nigeria, you do from first to the last. So I used to come first, the best guy in the class, but I knew all about my books, but I could not talk in class because anytime I stand up to talk, I'm going to stutter, and it's a very embarrassing experience. So I became a social recluse of sort. I became isolated, and growing up, all those issues, and I got into drugs, and I got into nicotine, and all that. All that still complicated my life. But my life changed when I started discovering certain things about myself. Like first and foremost, I realized that my stuttering condition, even though it was genetic, that it was also my mind playing tricks on me. Because I realized that when I'm talking to myself, in my mind, I don't stutter. And when I'm in a room by myself, I could talk for hours to myself and I wouldn't stutter. And the only difference was when somebody was present. So I realized that my stuttering condition was a mental issue because it only occurred when there was somebody present. So based on that, I began to experiment with some ways on how to heal myself of this, I would say, I considered it a bad habit. So that is the story. And I got myself out of that because I've been talking to you now for hours, for minutes, excuse me, and I've not stuttered. You know, back then, before I could, string one sentence, I would have to hit myself, and my friends would mock me, make ridicule of me. It was a very terrible thing for me growing up. So I overcame the stuttering. I also overcame the drug addiction. I also overcame my nicotine addiction. And I got to a place where even though my father had abandoned us for over 18 years, he maliced us. He would come to my school because my stepbrother was also in my school. So he would come to my school, pay my stepbrother's school fees, and he won't pay my school fees. He will walk past me. He won't say anything to me. So there was this malice ongoing for 18 years. After that, I had to reconcile him back to my mom and brought peace to the house. So those were all the issues around my life. Then I had to fight with poverty because my mom had to raise 5 of us because she later remarried and then divorced, and she had 2 children previously. So 5 of us, she had to raise 5 of us, sometimes without a job. So we were living in very abject poverty, and I had to struggle through school, struggle through primary school, struggle through secondary school, and struggle through the university. So I also overcame poverty ultimately. So those were the fights I had to fight, and that's the story behind who I am today.
Great. Such an inspiring person you are.
Thank you.
What do you think? How can we live a fearless life? What is important?
Okay. Actually, fears was something I had to deal with, basically the fear of making a fool of myself. The fear of making a fool of myself. Every time I had to speak there was the fear that I was going to stutter, and I always stuttered. So I lived with that constant fear. And you know that communication is something that you have to communicate to live. Every time you turn around, you have to communicate. So I lived in fear till well over I was in my 20s, because it was around my 20s that I overcame the stuttering condition. So I lived in that fear of making a fool of myself. I couldn't build relationships, and I had a hard time interacting with the opposite sex. So all that affected my self-esteem. It affected my self-esteem. So, but thank God today, I could say that I've been able to master a lot of my fears. Okay, I've been able to master a lot of my fears. And in dealing with fear, one of the things that is so paramount, so important in dealing with fear is in taking action. If you're going to handle your fears, erase your fears, you need to take action. I think it was Anthony Robbins that said that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in spite of fear. So the action is the death of fear. Action is the death of fear. And that's why fear tries to get you not to take action, because fear knows that once you take action, you have destroyed it. Every time you take action on what you are afraid of, you kill the fear. So if you want to completely eliminate fear, you need to take consistent action concerning what you are afraid of. So that is one of the ways to destroy fears. The second thing I think in destroying fear is knowledge. You are afraid because of what you don't know. Okay, people are afraid of dying because they don't know where they would spend eternity. They don't know what happens after death. So why the fear of death is the greatest fear is because nobody knows. People don't know what happens after death. Okay, we know there are people who have figured that out. There are books that have been written about that, but the generality of people don't know what will happen after death. So a lot of them fear death, but there are religions that, you know, even make death appealing by painting a picture of the afterlife that is attractive. So when you know that, you no longer be afraid of death. So knowledge destroys fear. So what you know can empower you to overcome fear, and what you're ignorant of can empower fear in your life. Then thirdly, love. There's a book I like reading very much. It says, perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. So when you're walking in love, love is the greatest power on earth. If you're walking in love, you have this confidence towards life because your vibes are positive. And when you're walking in love, you are assured that there's no harm that can come to you. Lastly, one of the ways I deal with fear is to get angry. Anger, people who are angry don't recognize fear. So if there's anything that's in your life that is creating fear, I don't know if you've had, if as a young child you were bullied before. You know, if there was this bully in school that used to bully you as a child, the day you got angry, that was the day the bully ended, because that anger empowered you to overcome that fear. So if there's anything in your life that is afflicting you, tormenting you, harassing you, you can muster anger towards it and overcome the fear.
Great. Regarding fear, how can we change our mindset about the life? How can we think more positively and not be surrounded by negativity?
Okay. You know, it's the problem with most persons most of the times is because they live their lives on default. A lot of people live their lives on autopilot, and the educational system has not really helped, because we go to school and school teaches us what to think about, but the educational system does not teach you how to think. Inability to formulate a thinking strategy or having a critical thinking strategy is the reason why a lot of people are surrounded by negativity. You need to understand that there is a difference between thinking, between what to think on and how to think. People think that they are thinking, but most of them are just rearranging their ignorance. Okay, you need to organize your mental space. You need to organize your mental space. A lot of us, our mental space is on default. What do I mean by default? Okay, the way you've been thinking since you were born is the same way you're thinking till now, and you know that the way you were, your thinking plan was not strategically adopted. You came into this world and your parents gave you stuff to think. Your siblings gave you stuff to think. The educational system gave you things, your environment, the religion you were raised in, all those things have created what is right now your thinking map or your thinking environment mentally. So that is on default. If you are going to be somebody who has a positive mindset, you need to deliberately organize your mental space. You need to decide what works for you and what no longer works for you. You need to decide what is true and what is false. So you need to deliberately organize your mental space.
Great. What does living a meaningful life mean to you? How do you define a meaningful life?
Awesome. That's a very, very great question because it's something that has occupied my life for as long as I can remember. It was what guided me out of living a life of mediocrity. All through those years, when I was having low self-esteem, having the stuttering problem, being hooked on drugs, I think I was trying to find meaning. And I believe that everybody is trying to find meaning. And I want to celebrate you for what you're doing. This is all part of living the meaningful life. The meaningful life is the life that contributes to the well-being of others. I would say being blessed to be a blessing. Being blessed to be a blessing. You need to make an investment in yourself so that you are able to make an impact and a difference in the life of others. So a meaningful life for me is somebody who has invested in themselves, somebody who has taken time to educate themselves, taken time to add value to themselves so that they can be a positive influence on others. Somebody who is a role model. That's a meaningful life. Somebody who is living a copyable lifestyle, a lifestyle that honors you as a person, a lifestyle that honors your family, a lifestyle that honors your nation, a lifestyle that honors your generation, that your generation can look at you and say that you contributed something in advancing humanity. I think that is, for me, how to live a meaningful life, to do something positive, to leave your mark on the sands of time, to not just be a spectator in the game called life, but to be a participator in the game called life. It also means for you to overcome your fears, to face your fears, because for the majority, the reason why their lives are not meaningful is because they are afraid of stepping out, afraid of making a fool of themselves, afraid of failure, afraid of defeat. But if you're going to live a meaningful life, you need to be a person of faith. Somebody has said that fear knocked on the door and he sent faith. And when faith opened the door, there was no one there, because faith counters fear the same way fear will counter faith. So living a meaningful life is living a life of faith, believing in possibilities and going out there, and stepping out in faith, believing that the forces of life, the forces of nature, all the resources of the earth are actually at your disposal to help you become whoever you were created to become.
Great. How can we go beyond our limiting beliefs and create a meaningful life? What do you think?
Okay. How can we go beyond our limiting beliefs? I think first and foremost, you need to even know that you have a limiting belief, because most persons don't believe that what is holding them back is their belief systems. That is why they will fight you to keep their beliefs. Beliefs are very powerful. That beliefs hijack your consciousness. Beliefs is how you put your life on autopilot. I was teaching yesterday on the Fearless Project, and I said that, when in the spur of the moment, if something happens now, in the spur of the moment, you don't have time to think. You only act based on your subconscious programming. And beliefs are subconscious programmings that dictate for us what is possible or what is not possible. Beliefs tells you what you can do or what you cannot do. So beliefs are subconscious programmings, and it's very important that you deliberately program your beliefs, that you are not on autopilot when it concerns your belief. A lot of people don't even know what they believe because they have not done an assessment of their beliefs. They are running their life. They don't even understand. We thank God for the self-education revolution. We thank God for self-help. We thank God for motivational teachings, and that has helped in bringing to our awareness that there's such a thing as limiting beliefs, and that it's not witchcraft most of the times, it's not devils and demons most of the times, it is not your boss, it is not your colleagues in the office, it is not even the environment that you live in, it's not the background you were born into, is what you're thinking up here. So how do you break your limiting beliefs? Number one, you need to know that there is such a thing as limiting beliefs. You have to believe that it is what you are believing that is keeping you from living a meaningful life. Without that fundamental understanding, you will be fighting everything else. You'll be working on the externals instead of the internals. I think there is a law called the law of correspondence, where it says that your outer life your outer life is a picture of your inner life. Your outer life conforms or corresponds to your thought life and to your belief systems. So you need to first and foremost understand this dynamic, that as a man thinketh, so is he. That it is your belief systems that have gotten you to where you are right now. And if you're going to advance further, what brought you here can get you there. So you need to change what you believe about yourself, change what you believe about life, change what you believe about possibilities, change what you believe about people, about relationships, because your beliefs about finances could be the reason why you're broke. Your beliefs about relationships could be the reason why you're always struggling in relationships. Your beliefs about authority figures could be the reason why you're not getting along with your boss. So you need to understand that. Then secondly, you need to investigate your beliefs. You need to investigate your beliefs. Then thirdly, I would think that you would need to believe in your own greatness. You need to believe in your own personal greatness. You need to believe that there is something unique about you, that you're here for a purpose. You're here as a messenger from the other side. And after you're done here with your work, you would also leave to the other side. That we came from somewhere, came here on limited time, on an assignment to execute a plan and a purpose. And after that is done, we would transit to the other side, that we are soul, we are spirit, soul, and body. And it is just our spirit that is, that it is our spirit that is eternal, that this earthly body, with time, it will pack off. It would pack off like an old cloth. But there is something inside of you that is eternal, and that is your spirit. And that is what makes you great. That is what gives your life purpose. That's what gives your life meaning. That is why you should know that you're here as a messenger. You're here on an assignment. So if you want to live a meaningful life, I think those are some of the things you need to consider. Not all, but I think that could be that would be a very big, a very good foundation to start on.
Yeah, great. It's very actually important about to know about the limiting system. You talked about also this project, Fearless Project. Tell us about the vision behind the Fearless Project.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get that. It's like there was a little network challenge. You said I talked about the Fearless Project. Okay, I should talk about the Fearless Project.
Yeah, I ask about what is the vision behind the Fearless Project.
Okay, the vision behind the Fearless Project. The Fearless Project is a daily broadcast I do. It's a daily broadcast I do. I also anchor another program called Meaningful Conversations, where I interview change agents. I interview people who are making a difference. So that is Meaningful Conversations. But the Fearless Project is a platform I created, and I also created a community, the Fearless Community of Believers. That's the Facebook group, the Fearless Community of Believers. And that was created when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. And the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, there was a lot of fear. I was afraid too. And the Fearless Project was my way of fighting back the fear that was prevalent when that pandemic broke out. A lot of people, there was so much uncertainty, ambiguity, complexity, and volatility at that stage that we needed an anchor to be able to hold us in place when the winds of that fear was raging. There was a storm of fear that was raging all through the earth. Nobody really had an understanding of the pandemic, how long it was going to last and all that. So I came up with the Fearless Project, and every day I would come on and I would deliver faith-based messages to build people's faith, to build their confidence, to give them hope and encouragement and motivation through that season. And after the whole pandemic thing started dying down, it became something that we had to continue because of how much difference it was making in the lives of people. So that was the vision behind it. We wanted to create a community of encouragement, a community of motivation, a fearless community, knowing that fear compromises the quality of our existence, and nobody who is living in fear is actually living. I think it was Shakespeare that said that a coward dies many times, but the brave die only once. So we really wanted to eliminate fear, and that was the vision behind the Fearless Project. It's a daily Facebook broadcast. I do it every day, 8 p.m. Nigerian time, and except on Saturdays, but every other day we are live 8 p.m. Nigerian time.
Great, amazing. As a last question, if there is something, like one thing that you recommend people to do about life, or to think about life, what is that?
Okay, there are several, but if I was just to pick only one, it would be in the famous words of Drake. Drake, the rapper, multi-talented, award-winning artist. YOLO. YOLO. You only live once. So make the most of it.
Yes. Wow, amazing. I'm so inspired by your story, and I'm sure so many of our audiences feel the same. So we are done with our interview. If you want to hear more from Ogar, I will put his Facebook link in the description so you can follow him and get inspired more. And if you have any question, you can write your question in the comments. And if you like the video, just thumbs up on the like video and follow our more videos on YouTube. Until next video, have a lovely week. Bye. Thank you. And one thing I forgot. Thank you, Ogar, for your time again. And
Thank you
it was
for having me.
yeah, it was such an amazing time I had, and I got so much inspired.
Thank you.